The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of Bermuda's Feel Good Early Morning Show. Good day, Bermuda, supported by Pete's House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jackie Lambert, and we want to thank you for getting up bright and early with us on this Wednesday, aka Hump Day. Jack, how are you feeling this morning?
I feel good. Like, I woke up and I was like, let's go. Mind you, it was like 5:30 and I was just like, I quit trying to sleep. So let's go. I rolled over and my rooster that's across the street is back acting up. So I was just like, all right, I'm up. Let's go. Like, I quit. Like, I'm pretty sure if we sit quietly, we'll hear it.
Well, okay, we're definitely going to try that one of these days. As y'all can see, as always, Jackie and I are ready to bring you some feel good vibes this morning. So if you haven't already, please take a minute to share this episode wherever you are watching. Our feel good topic of the day, we're going to be talking about passing the torch on over to youth activists and providing them with support. That's a conversation you don't want to miss out on, because we have seen a lot of youth organizations pop up, not only here in Bermuda, but we've definitely seen a good bit of youth around the world stepping up to the plate. So make sure you stick around to participate in that conversation. If you want to get a laugh to get your morning started, make sure you stick around for our feel good vibe of the day, which is joke time with Jackie. Now, to get you warmed up for today's show, we have a question of the morning that we wanted to ask you. So I'm actually going to show this screen to y'all. Here is a before and after of Rick Ross's upcoming album cover. So on the left side of the screen, that is the new cover, and on the right is the original cover. So we wanted to ask y'all, do you think he should have changed his cover? So he received a lot of flack on Twitter, specifically around the first original album cover. And Jack, do you think he should have changed it based on seeing the two side by side?
Like, so at first I came up and I was just like, oh, in my head, I was like, oh, he changed it to the one on the right. And I'm like, hold on. Goes back and reads. And I'm like, so he changed it to the one on the left? That's like all the others. Not like all the others, but majority of his albums, I feel like they look like this. And like, it goes with the title, Richer Than I've Ever Been. Look at all that expensive stuff that's wearing.
And even if you didn't think the stuff was expensive, I just think it does give a sense of luxury. The right side than the left side. However, there were some really funny, I guess, tweets on social media where people were saying he looks like a church lady, the ones that, you know, escort you, the deaconess. And I kind of got the connection. I get it
because I see it's like a cute little cape. And it's just like, all he needs is his little purse. But I like it. Like, remember, Rick Ross is what we grew up listening to. Like, we all not grew up listening to, but he had the jeans and the button up. Like, he looked like he is like part of being Mr. Miami. And now he looks like you could take him to a nice dinner, and you know, versus him looking like Mr. Miami everywhere he goes. Now he looks like he's got a little bit more diversity, I guess you can say, in his.
He looks like money. And so we wanted to bring this into the conversation because what seems is happening is cancel culture is becoming like a super big thing. Like, he changed his album title because he got flack from social media, and it's like, but who are they really to judge your album cover? Like, I mean, and I'm someone not in the music industry, so Jackie and I don't have, you know, any sense of whether people think this is really going to help his album sales, yes or no. But like you say, I feel like the left album cover looks like a regular Rick Ross album cover. It looks like a regular hip hop album cover.
Yeah.
So it doesn't stand out to me.
And I get the green is money, and I get the gold, like the gold is gold, like I get it. But it's just something about the one on the right that's like, wait, well, what are we talking about? Like, what do you mean richer than you've ever been? Like, because it doesn't actually say it, whereas the one on the left says richer than I've ever been. The one on the right, maybe it's in a tattoo. I don't know. I can't see it.
I don't even think it's on there, so I just want to remind the audience.
I just like it. It's different than what he's ever done, and of course, you know, he's richer than he's ever been. So I feel like it complements each other.
I just want to remind the audience to give us your opinions. Let us know if you think Rick Ross should have changed his album cover. So on the left of the screen, the green background with Rick Ross, that is actually the one that he has changed it to, and the one on the right was the original album cover that he had. So let us know your thoughts on the comments, and if you think cancel culture has gotten to a point where it's causing creatives to like completely switch up their overall ideas. And I know artists are very sensitive, right? Like when you create something, it's very personal to you, so you do want people to like it. That's like a human nature, human response. I just feel like, so I saw someone comment like there was mystery behind the one on the right. Like you couldn't really tell what it was about. So you would, I feel like, in the way I think about, you know, picking up albums, if I was to pick up, you know, a physical album, I would pick up the album with the cover on the right, because I don't know what this is about. And then if I find out it's Rick Ross, I'm like, okay, obviously it's about rap music, but I definitely think the one on the right just has a little bit more intrigue than the one on the left. And I see a comment here from Janae. She says, I don't see a problem. Rappers stay bragging about getting rich. Most of them came from nothing. So why not celebrate what you've done? He shouldn't have changed it.
I agree. And I sit here and I'm thinking about cancel culture, and nobody really actually gets canceled. Who's actually been canceled? Maybe and stay canceled, because we just put you in the corner, like
time out.
Yeah, exactly. It's more like time out. You're on punishment. Go sit in the corner until we feel like listening to you again. But I prefer the one on the right.
I definitely think that. So I watched an interview recently of Rick Ross with the gentleman of Earn Your Leisure, and he was talking about, like, you know, how he come to his current state of wealth and what he's done, and, you know, all the different assets he has. And I just feel like he was dressed regular. Like he had on like a regular t-shirt, like he probably had on jeans. So he looked like how he, I guess, would normally look in interactions. And I feel like when you're doing, like, you know, presenting your artwork for the world to kind of take on, you definitely want to like have a little bit, you want to elevate it a bit, right? You don't want it to be you in a suit kind of vibe, which I think honestly, he should have just stuck to his guns, because he seems like a personality that doesn't really care what other people think. So I was a little bit shocked that he changed it. Like,
and I'm a person that, like, when I look at it, I'm like, oh, he's wearing white. You know how much money I gotta have to wear expensive white? You know my favorite color is black? Because I spill everything. Well, also it makes me look better. But like, that's money if you're wearing white gloves and you're touching everything, and a white hat that you're gonna put on. That screams richer than I've ever been.
Absolutely. Audience, if you're just joining us, Jackie and I are discussing the fact that Rick Ross changed his new album cover, Richer Than I've Ever Been. So the one on the left is the current / new album cover, and the one on, wait, I said the left, right? Yeah. The one on the left is the new and current album cover. The one on the right is the original one that he changed. And he changed it because cancel culture did its thing. Black Twitter did its thing and basically made fun of the upcoming album cover, and he ultimately switched it. And I want to come back to this comment from Janae. She says, I just feel like people would find anything to complain about, and people are just way too sensitive these days. I couldn't.
You know what he should do? He should put out both albums, and whoever buys the original artwork, there should be money in it, like $100 should be in it, because you're richer than you ever been. The people that support your original ideas should get a bonus.
I like that idea. He absolutely, because we don't even buy physical CDs anymore. So, like, imagine, right? Like,
imagine. I miss those days.
And so Janae says, I mean, he does look like a church lady, but that's his business. LOL. And that's the thing too, right? Like, yes, people are going to find humor in what they find humor in. Like, some people are just going to take your art and, go to the left with it. However, if I'm thinking about like the entire package that you're presenting to us, saying richer than I've ever been, the one on the right, hands down, always wins as far as looking richer than you've ever been. Like, I get it. I get why he changed it, but I personally would have loved for him to just stick to the wicket and just like, do his thing.
I will say this. In the one on the left where he's in the green, his beard looks bomb.
Okay, there is that. There is that. There is definitely that. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then Jacky and I will be back to talk about youth activism and how we can support them in their endeavors to take on some of the issues that we are facing in the world today. Make sure you stick around and participate in that conversation.
Looking for that fine dining experience? Then Aliana's is the place for you. And it's lobster season in Bermuda. So ladies, get your girls together for a ladies' night out. Book a table of 4 and each of you will get a 10% discount on your half or whole lobster main course. Starters not included. This lobster special is on until Saturday, December 18th. Serving dinner from 6 p.m. Thursday through Sundays. And of course, we have all your favorites, complemented with our specialty drinks and wine list, followed by our scrumptious homemade desserts. Aliana's Fine Dining Restaurant, 106 Southside St. David's. Phone 777-0555 for reservations. For those special occasions, there's Aliana's.
Welcome back to this episode of Good Day Bermuda, supported by Pizza House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jacky Lambert. And if you're just joining us, our Feel Good warm-up of the day, we talked about Rick Ross's upcoming album, Richer Than I've Ever Been, and how he changed the album cover from the original one, which caught some flack on social media, to a new one, which Jacky and I don't favor as much. However, we do want to hear your opinions. If you're just joining us, feel free to drop your opinion in the conversation in the comments. Jacky and I are actually going to switch to our Feel Good topic of the day. So we have seen a lot of youth organizations come into the field here in Bermuda, but then also around the world, there have been a lot of young people standing up for, what they believe in. And so Jacky and I found this article, not this part that's moving right here. So we found this article where New York teen baseball star basically refused to accept an act of racism at his current school, and he chose to leave in response to a derogatory comment that was made about his speed. And so I won't read specifically the full article, but I will kind of scroll down to the portion where this is the young gentleman right here. And there was a reporter who had asked him a question about how he got his speed. And basically the reporter went on to say that he probably gained his speed from dodging police. And so in an act of protest and to in his activism, he chose to, no longer take that, I think, accept was it a scholarship or something like that he had basically was awarded. So we just wanted to kind of talk about, youth activism and when is it necessary to pass the torch on to the young generation, because he's a teenager, he's still in high school, and so oftentimes we hear like, you're too young, you don't know what it is you're talking about, or you haven't experienced anything. We talk about the word experience a lot when it comes to young people. You haven't experienced anything. So when do you think it's necessary to pass the torch on to the next generation? Do you think it's when they've experienced some type of wrongdoing, or do you think they can absolutely step in whenever they feel called to do it? We want to talk about it. So let us know your thoughts. Jacky, just tell me your thoughts. What do you think? When should we allow young people to kind of come into the conversation?
I mean, we should always have them in the conversation. That way they can always be prepared for what may or may not happen to them when they're out without us. Obviously, sometimes it's going to happen with us there, but they should absolutely always be in the conversation, to the point that when situations like this happen, they could be brought to the table, and it's not like it's them just introducing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So they're already part of it. They're already there. So it's kind of like a overlap.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So they can listen, you know how we're always told to be seen and not heard. So they could be in the room, listen to the experiences, see how it's handled, and then go from there. In this situation, he went to his mom, and then, because there were actually other instances that he had to deal with. So he went to the higher ups, he said, and expressed actually told them about the situation, and then nothing was done about it. So it's not like this was the first incident and he's just like, boom. No, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. And then he's just like, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get a scholarship. I'm going to go forward anyway. So what's the point of me positioning myself in an uncomfortable situation when I can move to a college a school that I will be made to feel more comfortable, because there's no reason that I should say, oh, well, to help my tennis, I'm going to go and do track. And now I'm being criticized and made a mockery of. And then you got all your speed from running from the police. Like, what?
Exactly. And so that's the exact same reaction that Janae had. It's like,
why wouldn't I want a child to come to me and then be a part of the conversation? Because he will now be a representative for the others that are his age or younger or slightly older, like, his generation. I think every generation should have their version of an activist, because every generation has their issues and it needs to change. So if we start to have these kids come into the field earlier, those situations can be handled a lot better versus way down the line when they're in college and they're just like, oh yeah, back in high school I had to deal with this. Well, why wasn't it dealt with? Because I didn't have the power to. Well, why didn't you have the power? Oh, because you weren't brought into the conversation. So now, if he's in the conversation early, he will have those adults that can go with him to these meetings and say, absolutely not, that's not going to happen, because now it's a level playing field. We tend to look down on our younger kids and say, like you had started off, you haven't lived, you don't know what you're talking about. They're experiencing it. So let's fix it early. Anyway, that's
absolutely agree. So I want to bring in this comment that Janae says. She says, yes, they should always have a say. They need to know that their voice and opinions matter and are valued. Some young people have more insight than their elders. And so let's talk about that. Let's pause on that, because I think often, like you said, Jack, we dismiss young people because we believe that the collectively believe that wisdom comes with age. And often we find that that's not necessarily the case in every single situation. There are moments when, a young person is a bit more wiser because they have experienced something in the now that is more relevant to someone who experienced something in the past that is a no longer relevant experience.
I think Colin Kaepernick's, what's the TV series called now? Black and White?
Colin in Black and White.
In Black and White? Okay, yeah. I think that series is also a good example of why we should have a space for our youth, because he was adopted by two white people that will never experience anything that a Black person will have to experience. It will always, even if they do get some type of flack, it will always be a lighter version of what we have to go through. And, it goes on. So him having a space to, at a young age, voice his opinions and talk about the issues that he has to deal with and his circumstances, it's necessary, because he can't go to his parents and be like, that person is staring at me. Oh, they probably just think you're beautiful. No, they're watching my every move. I make them uncomfortable. Oh, let it go. No, so you're not going to protect me? All right, cool. Well, I'm going to go over to this organization and let them know these are the issues that I'm dealing with, because you can't help me. So they need somewhere else to go to have a safe space to deal with these situations. I'm talking in circles, but yes, the answer is yes. Bring them in.
We absolutely get it, Jack. So if you're just joining us, our first question of the day is, when is it necessary to pass the torch on to the next generation when it comes to youth activism? And we've seen a lot of young organizations here in Bermuda kind of step up to the plate and kind of put themselves out there. And what I think is interesting is that it seems from what I can see on the outside looking in, that it's a bunch of young people together, not to say that they don't have mentors or mentorship with how the organization is set up, but it definitely is beautiful to see a bunch of young people all collectively working together, whereas sometimes, they don't tend to work together because reasons, like it's difficult resourcing, we don't have, the funding, or we're young, negative self-talk comes into the conversation. So we definitely want to get your thoughts on when you think it's necessary. How early do you think we should start them? As soon as they can start walking? Should they be at a point where they've experienced some things before we actually start to bring them into the conversation? Jackie is a big proponent of bringing them into the conversation. I think as early as we can bring them in. Jack?
I think being proactive is a good idea. I'm not, and I mean to do it in a light way, because if you bring it in and it's all dark, then they're gonna think that every news reporter is going to be a donkey, or every white person is out to get them, or the police. You have to make sure that they understand and educate them in a light way,
Right.
so that they don't think that every single person in the world is against them, so that they don't turn out to be like angry.
Yes.
More so aware and self-aware.
And that's the key too, right? Being self-aware, because it's one thing, like you said, to kind of be angry at every white person that you encounter because of, what you've been exposed to at such a young age when it comes to, racism and just being a marginalized group of people. So I definitely think there is that fine line between possibly creating another angry black child because of all that they might experience, but also the flip side is making them aware of that it exists and just showing them how to navigate it. And I want to bring in this comment from Janae. She says, "Oh, the looks and slick comments I used to get in Canada while in school." I'm going to be honest. That's interesting to me because I've never been to Canada. And I just thought that Canada was a little bit better than the US when it came to that, but maybe
they're
not.
nicer. They're
Okay,
nicer
they're
about it.
their slick comments. Okay.
It's very PC, politically correct.
Got you.
And I've traveled. So I've experienced what they call it, the microaggressions.
Yeah.
I've experienced them. I've been told I'm one of the good ones, and I'm sitting here like, I would deliberately play dumb, like, I don't know what that means. Wait, explain it? Wait, so you think all black people? And then, of course, now they're embarrassed and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I've been saying that. You can't do that all by yourself. That's amazing. No, but going back to, you remember the movie, The Hate They Give? The Hate They Give.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the full title, but I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That is definitely a movie to watch that is very good for this conversation. I can't remember the actresses and actors' names, but I just remember certain scenes where he was teaching his daughter, and she wasn't angry in the beginning. It wasn't until it actually happened to her. So they're driving and her best friend's driving the car, and he decides to pull out his brush after they get pulled over, and the police officer thinks it's a gun, so they shoot him and he's dead. But she was in the car telling him, like, put your hands on the dash, like all the rules that when you're driving black you need to know. Put your hands on the dash, put your hands out the window, no sudden movements, move slow, only talk when spoken to. Like, that's crazy that we have to think like that. And not so much in Bermuda, but when I go to the States and I'm walking down the street or I'm driving down the street, the way I act in the States versus how I do in Bermuda is different. Like, I don't just freely walk down the street. No way. I am constantly looking, and if I see a car, I just try to smile as much as possible. Sometimes I'll laugh and just make sure I look as friendly and innocent as can be.
You mean a police car?
Yes.
Okay.
If I look a little angry, I'm just like, are they going to be suspicious of how I'm acting? That's crazy.
It's very interesting when you think about it too, because when you think about like young people having that experience, like obviously, like we talked about, bringing them into the conversation early helps them become aware of these situations, because we have seen time and time again in the US specifically, not so much here in Bermuda, where police have pulled children to the side because they match a description, they're riding their bicycles, things that we in Bermuda just encourage our young people to do. Go outside, ride your bike, go play on the tracks, go to the beach.
I've experienced a police officer racially profile me on my own property. It's not like it doesn't happen here. It's just typically when you research who the police officer is, they're not from here.
Right.
So anyway, back to you.
Oh no, so what I was getting at was specifically around the children, is like them not probably understanding that them just being a child, being themselves, to some people in the world can be a threatening situation, which is mind-blowing when you think about it, because like at 10 years old, what threat did I pose? Probably the fact that I could do math really well or something like that. Like, to me, that was
play with a toy gun.
That was about all I could do. So it's really interesting just how the tides have changed. Like, the young people have to be a little bit more aware of so much more than we were. Like, I don't think I was that attuned to the racial nuances of the day in the 90s. I was just living my best 90s life. I'm going to come to this comment from Janae. She says, I was in Prince Edward Island, Canada, where there were literally a handful of Black people when I first arrived. One of my early days in the grocery store, I had a little girl look at me like a ghost. It was clear that she had never seen a Black person. Wow. That's actually an interesting experience because I hear that all the time. Well, not hear that all the time, but I've seen it on shows where it's like places in the world that have never had Black people and how they're just like fascinated. And it's just, to me, it's mind blowing because I'm like, so you've never left the places you've been
So
living
you
your
don't have
entire
TV?
life?
You don't have internet? You don't watch sports? You don't watch the news?
The news, like even
You don't
even
watch
the,
TikTok? Like, it's
well,
just,
nowadays, right?
well, I mean, YouTube. Was YouTube back then? Was there YouTube back then? That's crazy. We have to have that conversation.
It was. I mean, it was probably not as many of us on there, to be quite honest. I don't think Black people were early adopters of using YouTube. So there are some things where I could kind of see. And let's talk about that too, right? The media portrayal of Black people and Black youth. Like, I feel like there is this interesting way that the media portrays Black people. And I use the word interesting very loosely because that narrative then either inspires youth activism or, like you said, it angers people. And so there is that kind of
I think it angers
responsibility.
most people, but it activates the people that it needs to activate.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, some people's gonna be like, you know what, I've had enough. I have the resources to make things happen. So I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna deal with it. Those are the ones that we need to activate more, the ones that actually have the means to push back.
Absolutely. And so I actually want to bring this question into it. So, like, what does support for youth activists look like to you? Because, like, we have this story of the young New York teen who is a baseball player. He received a scholarship, I think, he accepted into a college for his skill set in playing baseball. And, like, sometimes we find support in some of the simplest ways. It could just be sharing the story. It could just be a conversation with parents. So what does support for youth activists look like to you? Like, what is like a way that you would support someone in a situation similar to that young man who basically received a racial comment about his speed, to the tune of, you probably got that fast, from having to run away from police or something to that effect. That's not a direct quote. But, like, what does, that support look like to you?
Well, for one, it looks like this: having the conversation, pushing it, further into the world, and then, well, exposing it to more people. And then you have just the financial support, if there's anything that can be done. If you want to put up posters, have conversations, like, actually have meetings with people. It's a lot of ways that you can support. It's not just word of mouth or finance. You can literally just be there for the person and talk to them, because
I was actually gonna say,
it's a lot on your mental to be an activist, because most people are going to label you angry and ungrateful because at least you made it this far. Yes, those are words that people say. At least you made it this far. You could be back in wherever you came from, but look at you, you've made it this far. And it's just like, so this is as far as you think I should go? Like,
yep.
So,
and so even just speaking about, like, being there, because, like, we had the Black Lives Matter protests in March of 2020, and I believe, I could be incorrect, but I believe it was primarily organized by a group of young people. Like, and when I say young people, I'm thinking mid-20s, younger than 20s, like early teens or something like that. And I think it was really moving to see so many people support them in that cause. Like, yes, they did take the trend that was popular in the US, had been popular in the US for some years now, and then the global support for that particular movement. But I think it was really important to see so many people on the island, like, actually come out in support of that group, because it just kind of reaffirms what we're just talking about. Like, they stepped out of probably their comfort zone to be the activists or to be the faces of a movement here in Bermuda. And that's scary when your auntie, your uncle, your somebody could know that that's you that put that on. And I think that support was really good to anyone that maybe supported them. I think that's probably like the biggest and the best way that you can probably support someone is to actually
So what was
be there.
exciting about that was I stuck around and I was just watching how everybody was, engaged with people, because I tend to not what's the word I'm looking for? Because I don't want to come across bad. I like to watch how people move after the cameras have left these scenes to see if it was actually genuine or if it was just the trend of the day. So
Gotcha.
everybody's going, it's an outing, let's go. Or if they actually are sincere. And there were some other activist groups that came and supported. And at the end, they were sitting down and they're talking about like, what's the next move? What can we do next so that this isn't it? This isn't where it ends, but we need to keep pushing and move so that change actually happens versus make some noise and then go sit in the corner and let things fall back to where they lie.
Right.
And that was actually very nice to watch. And then you had some other people that came over that were just a part of the public. They didn't look like you and I should have probably gotten their names. And they was just like, hi, like, if there's anything we can do to support, we want to continue to support because we don't know what it feels like, but we know that there's, an imbalance.
I think that's great to know that people are, showing their support, or that did show their support. And I think the more, like you said, we have these conversations and we use the word, I feel like we're overusing the word normalize, but we're going to keep using it because it's accurate.
Until it's normal.
Until it's normal, exactly. Like normalizing these conversations around activism, because I mean, there are people that, like to do activism kind of silently, like they don't necessarily want to be the face, but they do want to provide support, whether that's financial, whether it is a conversation with a person to kind of share how they were able to fight the man, beat the system, whatever the case may be. So I definitely think, like you said, the more we have these conversations and, make it comfortable for people to want to kind of, when they see an injustice, to actually step out and
I mean, there are a lot of people that legit are in their own little world, just making it through. They may have better lifestyles than us, but some legit, they come to, and I'm talking about foreigners as well, that come to Bermuda and they're just like, Bermuda's been sold to everybody as this rich, luxurious place. And so they think that everybody is living an amazing life until you start, telling them like, oh no, they're
peeling back the onion.
And they're just like, really? But I don't see that. And then you tell them like, go drive this way, go to this school, just go sit in the parking lot and watch and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, Bermuda's not what I thought it was. Like, it's not a lot different. So now I found a way to be a part of this little organization that gives back lunches or goes and reads to the kids at school, and the children go private school, but they're trying to give back as much as they can to the public. And I'm just like, wait, you really just be in your own little bubble. And then you find out they have like a lot of kids. Like, hey, you have no time to be outside your bubble.
That is hilarious. I want to come to this comment from Janae. She says, meeting different people from Canada through school, I can tell people from the more diverse Canadian places were the most comfortable with conversing with me, which I think is interesting because that kind of trends when you think about, like, if you're more exposed to different cultures, you have a little bit more compassion, you're a bit more understanding, empathetic towards, the different nuances of other people's cultures. But if you are only ever exposed to your culture and that's it, it's a little bit difficult for you to be empathetic and to be able to kind of acknowledge the fact that someone else has a difference than you, and that doesn't make you better than them. It just means that you're two different people, and that's life. But just coming back, I think we're talking about I lost my train of thought. It's fine. It'll come back. Maybe. We'll see.
This is awesome because you're literally, I can see you looking into the universe and being like, that's not the thought. That's not the thought.
Dang it. I had the thought.
That's not the thought.
But I'll have a whole new train of thought. So basically, just like understanding, that activism doesn't necessarily have to be fight the man. Like activism can absolutely be changing the way
Giving
I
back.
hate to say it, yes, giving back. Like actually, like you said, the parents that maybe go to schools and do a reading day, or they're giving breakfast to the students. Like those are forms of activism. Like I think we talk a lot about, jarring activism when it's like race is involved or there is some injustice, which are absolutely things that we should be trying to fix. But an injustice is the level of reading that certain children don't have because they didn't have someone at home that was able or available to read to them at night. And that's not to say that the person didn't want to, but maybe they were tired. Like you said, maybe they got so many kids or they had so many different jobs that it was just a lot. So I think there are so many other ways for us to be an activist and for our youth to be activists, that it doesn't necessarily have to always be that that Malcolm X type
loud.
Of activist.
I go back and forth because I do support loud activism, but I'm one of those people that prefers like silently doing it. So if I know that, say, the system doesn't want children to have exposure to reading, tennis, fencing, whatever, I'm gonna find a way to secretly get them that exposure. They're not supposed to learn how to swim? Unfortunately, that's unfortunate for you, because see that pool over
They've
there?
all been taught.
They swim in it. They know how to swim. They're learning how to swim. Sorry, I didn't realize that was a part of your plan. Oh, and they can all read. Oh, yep. And my best friend that knows how to speak Spanish is now tutoring them. So they're also getting fluent in that. That's my version.
I love that. And I feel like, see, that is forms of even the youth, right? To be active and to actually fight the system. It is to expose themselves or be more exposed to things that they wouldn't necessarily have access to for reasons that we all know from legacy and generational issues, et cetera, et cetera. I definitely feel like the more people like yourself that are trying to give that access to people, the better it'll be. I mean, they might find that, horseback riding is not their thing. And that's totally fine. If you find that that's not your thing.
While horseback riding, they find out that their best friend that they now do horseback riding with is good at piano, and they go and learn how to play piano at a sleepover or, play date. And now they're getting piano lessons with their best friend.
Yep.
And their best friend's parents know that maybe the child can't afford it the same way, so they're finding ways to assist because, that's their child's best friend. That's how you help make sure that these children get pushed forward, or you make sure that whatever they're actually talented in, you're the one that helps them learn how to take advantage of that. And now they're getting a scholarship to sing or dance or do art. But they're away in college now. They're not stuck here on the side of the road being a part of the systems plan.
Absolutely. And on that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then Jackie and I will be back with our Feel Good Vibe of the day, which is Joke Time with Jackie. If you want to laugh to get your morning started or continue to get your morning started, make sure you stick around.
Same smooth sounds, different name. BCG Radio, home of Bermuda's most engaging morning talk shows, The Daily Hour and Good Day Bermuda. Download the app, available for Android and Apple devices. BCG Radio, your station for conversations and entertainment.
Welcome back to Good Day Bermuda, supported by Pizza House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jackie Lambert. If you're just joining us, we're getting ready for our Feel Good Vibe of the day, which is Joke Time with Jackie. It's when Jackie tells us the most corniest joke she can find, and we try our best to guess the answer to said joke. So without further ado, Jackie, over to you. I'm ready for joke time.
Okay. When does a farmer dance?
Farmer dances? I don't know, but it's going to be so funny.
When the beat drops.
Beat drops.
Where did the computer go to dance?
It was all about dance today. Okay. Where did the computer go to dance? I don't know. The disco.
Yes!
Oh, disco. Like a disco floppy.
Yes! Ren is a door, not a door. I don't know if I've done this one before, but I love this one.
Ren is a door, not a door. I don't know.
When it's a jar.
I do look, you feel like you've done that one before, but it is hilarious. It is definitely hilarious. It's definitely a classic. It definitely should come back often. As always, Jack and I hope that today's Feel Good Vibe of the Day has you ready to make it a great one. Thank you so much for watching and engaging with this episode of Good Day Bermuda, supported by Pizza House and Aliana's Restaurant. We trust we'll see you tomorrow for more Feel Good conversations. Until the next episode, peace and have a good day, Bermuda.